Hello and thank you for joining us on the Tuesday edition of Journalist Hangout. I'm Ayodele Ozugbakun. Today on the program, despite tribunal ruling, INEC insists ANDP presented ineligible candidates during the 2019 Bayelsa Governorship Election as Governor Diri vows to appeal judgments. 2 policemen quizzed over escape of Ibadan serial killer from detention as lawmakers demand probe. And later on the show, PTF differs as Aviation Minister fixes August 29th for the resumption of international flights. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otutoju, and Dotun Oladipo will be joining us via Skype. So if you're ready, let the hangout start now. Thank you for joining us. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has faulted the ruling of the Bayelsa State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal, nullifying the November 16 governorship election in the states. INEC National Commissioner and Chairman, Information and Voter Education Committee, Festus Okoye, said the nomination by ANDP was invalid. Let's share this with you.
There are basically 3 fundamental issues that are involved in the judgment of the tribunal. The first relates to whether the issues that the political party complain about is a pre-election matter, and whether the Election Petitions Tribunal has jurisdiction to even entertain that particular matter. As far as the commission is concerned, the issue is a pre-election matter, and by the provisions of Section 285, subsection 9 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, such a matter must be filed within a period of 14 days of the accrual of that particular matter. And I say this advisedly. This is because on the 13th day of September 2019, the Independent National Electoral Commission wrote to this political party, drawing their attention to the fact that they nominated an underage candidate as their deputy governorship candidate, and also drew their attention to the fact that under the provisions of Section 177B of the Constitution, a candidate for the post of deputy governorship of any political party must be 35 years or above. So, and we told them that their nomination was invalid. On the 21st day of September, the political party responded to this particular letter and agreed that their nomination was invalid, agreed that they nominated an underage candidate, and then forwarded the name of one in nowhere, Janet, as a replacement. Now, then on the 27th day of September, the commission responded to the said letter and told them that the period for nomination of candidates had elapsed on the 9th day of September 2019. And to that particular extent, they cannot substitute a valid candidate with an invalid candidate, and that their logo and their name will not be on the ballot. So, by the provisions of Section 285, subsection 9 of the Constitution, the cause of action accrued from the date the commission told them that they will not be on the ballot. So, to that particular extent, they ought to have filed their action 14 days from the 27th day of September 2019. They didn't do that. The second issue that arises from here is that this particular election was conducted on the 16th day of November 2019. The declaration of results was made on the 17th day of November 2019. By the provisions of the same Section 285, subsection 5 of the Constitution, any individual, any political party, any candidate that is agreed with the outcome of the election has a period of 21 days from the 17th day of November to approach the Election Petitions Tribunal. They didn't approach the court on that day. So there are 2 jurisdictional issues involved. And as far as this particular commission is concerned, what happened at the Supreme Court in relation to the pre-election matter that was filed is that judgment was delivered, but the provisions of Section 285, subsection 5 of the Constitution talks about the declaration of results. So that is when the cause of action accrued. So there are 2 jurisdictional matters involved. So what we expected the election tribunal to do is to assume jurisdiction and make a determination whether it has jurisdiction to even entertain the matter in relation to the fact that it is a pre-election matter, and also in relation to the fact that the period for the filing of election petitions has elapsed.
Meanwhile, the governor of Bayelsa State, Governor Diri, has, through a statement by his chief press secretary, vowed to appeal that particular judgment. Babajide, we dwelled on this yesterday, and we have further illumination to this through Festus Okoye telling us what really went down. Do you see the Court of Appeal addressing this seeming injustice?
Well, what I can say is that everything that Festus Okoye said was very much in line with the minority judgment by Justice Ibrahim Sirajo, who was the chairman of that panel. And Justice Sirajo said there was evidence that the party failed to substitute the candidate until the period for substitution elapsed. There was also evidence, he talked about Exhibit P8 before the tribunal, which was a letter that INEC had written to the party, notifying it that it had invalidly nominated a candidate for the election. So the long and short of it is that, and it is already affirmed by our laws, that where INEC disqualifies a candidate, it becomes a pre-election matter.
Pre-election matter?
Yes, it is not a matter to bring before the tribunal. Because the decision of INEC must have taken place
before
the
conduct
of that election in November. So this matter ought not to even have been entertained by the tribunal in the first place. Remember that when Faleke felt aggrieved about the Kogi matter, the first court he went to was Justice Ademola's court, if you remember. And Justice Ademola declined jurisdiction, saying, look, this is an election matter. It is not a pre-election matter. I, as the judge of a federal high court, can only handle pre-election matters. So this has to be clear. So in the first place, at the upper courts, it will be determined whether in the first place the tribunal had jurisdiction to entertain the matter. That will be the first thing that they will be talking about. And then, of course, the submission of the chairman of the tribunal that there was sufficient evidence that the ANDP candidate was not validly nominated would then come up. So if you try to substitute after the expiration of the time provided by the law, then you do not have a case. So this is something for the courts, the upper courts to the superior courts to determine.
Dipo, your take on this?
Well, I think our political parties are missing the point a lot of times. Before the election, INEC had pleaded, it had spoken with all the parties that they should plead because of the number of such cases that we had in the last election, ensure that qualified candidates are the ones who are presented. I don't know why it is difficult for a party that takes time to set up several committees pre-election to screen, to take up appeal from the screening when candidates are not satisfied with the outcome of such screening. I don't know why it's difficult for them to come out with eligible candidates. It's so difficult to understand. It's so difficult. You look at past issues. What knocked out the man in the Bayelsa in the first place, the All Progressive Congress that actually won the election? It was also an issue of ineligible candidate that is tainted, that is changed. It's tough to understand why politicians keep making the same mistake. You already know these are the issues, these are the issues. You must screen your candidates, they must fulfill all the listed criteria in the constitution, in your own, even in your own constitution, the party. But you still find out that a lot of candidates that are presented, they fall short of these things. And then you begin to wonder, why are the parties doing the same thing over and over again? That's one. The second issue for me, like Babajide stated, do these parties even understand very clearly the difference between matters that are to go to the tribunal and those that are to go to the ordinary court? Do they have a very clear understanding of it? Now, what we do a lot of times is to waste the time of the court and also the time of the person who is sitting on the office. We've had so many governors, so many elected officials complain that they use the first 3 years of their being in office to validate even their sitting on that seat. So it's a huge problem. We've had so many debates on this. It has been at one point suggested, look, let's move election maybe 10 months, 6 months before the swearing-in date, so that all matters can be concluded. Governor Diri has been sworn in now. For a while, it took his time constituting his cabinet because of this fear of we're going to go to the court, we're going to come out of it. This is just one party now, out of so many that are in court, sitting to unsitting. The matter of Alliance for Democracy has been sorted out. This is here now. How long is it going to take off?
Yeah, DJ, that's another thing. Because it's not only ANDP that will be in court. You just, the list you hear is another party seeking one relief or the other. And I look at it and I asked you yesterday and saying that, look, the time before, we didn't have a time frame. But now, we have a time frame of 180 days at the tribunal level till the Supreme Court will have this time. But do you think this time is long enough to do away with these cases before maybe the inauguration?
I think it's possible, and we should work towards that. We should really work towards that. I believe that when our elections become far more credible than they are currently, there won't even be any need for this kind of funny litigations that we are seeing. And then our lawmakers must also back INEC. A lot of these mushroom political parties, you know, they are like what, when we were in school, the people that we call LASU, you know, or NASU in the school.
Non-academic students.
We just say, you should always find them in the common room. That's where we did not only call them, we call some of them LASU, okay, meaning lazy, ambitionless students union. You will never see them in class studying.
They never come to the class.
Yes, you just drinking in the common room. That's where you will find them. They can't win an election. No matter how little an election is, they cannot win. But they can cause problems. As we have seen, INEC must be agonizing now. How do we then organize another election? How do we mobilize? You know,
it's already a burden for INEC to
yes, this was purely not in their plans. Except the courts now save INEC. INEC will have to spend a lot of money organizing a fresh election in that state, caused by a party that lacks a capacity to even win an election on a street. You know, not to talk of a whole community. So this is the thing. Yes.
Yesterday was my first time when ANDP, I don't know, any figure.
But this is the thing. But the thing is, Section 138, subsection 1D of the Electoral Act provide grounds upon which an election can be challenged at the tribunal. And Section 285, subsection 14, says clearly that matters relating to disqualification of a candidate are to be handled by the regular courts, not the tribunal. So there are really issues. But of course, a lot of our people are already wondering whether APC can be part of this election. People have asked me repeatedly, and I've gone to do extensive research. Some people have talked about, oh, this is a fresh election, it is not a rerun. But the thing about history is that when you go back to history, you will now see whether we had this kind of situation before. Whether an election had been cancelled outright before, and what happened thereafter. So I'll take our people to the INEC versus Labour Party, Adamawa State chapter of Labour Party in 2007. The matter was purely unlawful exclusion, very similar, if not the same, as this matter. And INEC refused to accept that these guys were lawfully, and were unlawfully excluded. So the Labour Party wanted to rejig its nomination, bring in fresh people. But the matter went to the Court of Appeal. And I'll read part of what. So the Court of Appeal was asked to determine, among other points, the right of Labour Party to submit candidates of her choice for the fresh governorship election in Adamawa State. Without any equivocation, the Court of Appeal held that where there is nullification of a general election and a rerun election is ordered, only candidates who are nominated to contest in the nullified election can contest in the rerun election.
Wow.
Justice Okoro in the lead judgment, pages 102 and 103 of the law report says, where a general election has been held and there is a false start, for example, a candidate who ought to have been part of the election was unlawfully excluded, or there was no level playing ground for all the candidates, and that election is subsequently either cancelled by the regulating authority like INEC or nullified by an order of a court or tribunal, and a rerun or a restart is ordered. It is my humble view that the rerun or restart refers to that general election or nullified and not a by-election. The consequence of this is that all the candidates, including the one unlawfully excluded, will now get back to the starting line for a fair and free contest. It does not admit of any other candidate, since, as it were, the period of nomination and screening of candidates will have elapsed. Mark those words.
The period of
nomination and screening of candidates will have elapsed. See, then he cited Honorable Mohammed Salisu and Anno versus Abbas, Yakubu, and two others. You know, the judgment was delivered on 6 November 2003. So, furthermore, it says they are ordered to the starting point. Was referring, he used the example of a competition in athletics. He said when there is a false start in a final, when there's a false start, you order them to go back. So that they can start the race. He said the process is not started again, whereby, those who did hit 1, hit 2, the semi-final will take place. He said it is those who were on the starting line for the final that will now take part. He said at that stage, no new competitor is allowed to take part. Only those who have been screened and are taking part in what usually called the heats and are certified fit for the final race that are allowed in the repeat race. Then Justice Amina Augi
Okay.
Yes, also said in page 109 of that law report, whenever an election is nullified, the implication is that it is the same candidates that were set to run in the election that must go back to run in the fresh election ordered. Labour Party, though, has a right to sponsor candidate, but cannot exercise that right when an election is nullified and a fresh election is ordered, because the date and period for calling for nominations had elapsed. So he then underlined that, he said, to capital, Justice of the Court of Appeal, Ore Dollar, summed it up by saying on page 110 of the judgment that even though the order for the conduct of a fresh election after the nullification of a previous one is not an entirely new process that can be likened to starting on a clean slate, nevertheless, it is also not the case of a fresh call to arms or a scenario of clarion call of to thy tent, O Israel. Rather, it is one of as you were. As you were in this case is looking at those
Going back to the status quo.
Yes, just going back literally to the status quo. This is the thing. We don't know. We are not lawyers. We are not judges. We don't know what will happen. But there had been cases decided in the past after 1999 where we had a scenario similar to this, and fresh elections were ordered, and they were not allowed, candidates, parties were not allowed to substitute candidates. So this is what I just validated.
So we just read reference points. And Dotun, I don't know, maybe you share the sentiment of Babajide, because since that judgment, we saw people on the street of Yenegua, they were rejoicing, saying, David Lyon, if this gets to the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court, and we still have the same situation, David Lyon might have the opportunity to contest again.
No, that can't be, because in the first place, his tax team was not qualified to even stand for the election.
Ab initio.
Except, of course, yes, from the onset. Except, of course, there is going to be a reversal of the already established judgment. It's not once, it's not twice. Once the person you are going into an election with is disqualified, you're also disqualified. Nobody can come back to reconsider your candidacy. It's not going to happen. It's just going to be between the parties that were eligible in the first place to take part in that election. That's what the Supreme Court says.
All right, we'll take this break. When we come back, we'll talk more. It's still Journalist Hangout. We'll be right back after this breather. Stay with us. It's your multi-award winning program, Journalist Hangout. We're reaching you from TVC News here in our headquarters in Lagos, Nigeria. And we are looking at the tribunal's verdict on Bayelsa election. Babajide, on the final note on this, we expect that the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court, to
get to those two courts.
Yeah, it must. So
because INEC was waiting yesterday to get a copy of the judgment. You know, without the copy of the judgment, you can't take a decision to go to court or not. So they were waiting, but I know that INEC will appeal this judgment. They are not convinced that they did what was wrong, and the minority judgment read by Justice Yunusa appears to support the position of INEC, because even that judge argued that this was a pre-election matter. So these are interesting times. We wait to see what will happen.
The Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court. Moving on now, the rather puzzling question of how a teenage serial killer, Sunday Shodipe, escaped from detention is being asked as the Oyo State Police Command has begun interrogation of two of its men. The serial killer, who confessed to several killings in the Akinyele local government area of Oyo State, escaped 2 days after judgment. The Oyo State House of Assembly is now demanding a probe into the issue, as Oyo Police Command has now doubled the bounty on the head in a bid to quicken his rearrest. Juliet, this is ridiculous. I don't know. I saw the story of this young man last week, and I felt that he will be brought to justice, and we'll be slammed, and we'll have his day in court, and he will be detained. But if in a rather questionable circumstance, I don't know how he had to escape 2 days after. There seems to be internal connivance here.
Yes, I don't see how that guy could have escaped without the knowledge of 1 or 2 policemen. Remember something similar to this happened in Rivers State. The guy who murdered one of the daughters of, I think, his uncle or something. He escaped from detention. He raped the girl and then murdered her. He escaped from detention, but they eventually got hold of him. You know, so I'm confident that the police will get this guy arrested, because it's important that he's arrested because of what he's capable of doing. He's busy killing people, and he doesn't use a gun. It's a slow death that he visits on victims. He uses cutlass.
He looks sick.
Yes, and he's targeting women. So the earlier this boy is arrested and brought to justice, the better. This kind of person has no business roaming our streets.
Like a maniac on
a place, Akinyele, peaceful place, Akinyele local government, and then we have an idiot just running around the place, killing people for fun. He's a psychopath. He appears to have lost it completely. So why should we let that kind of person escape from captivity?
Human being.
To go and mix with the rest of us. So something is wrong. And the police commissioner must get to the root of this. There are many bad eggs in the police, of course. Any professional body, anybody at all, you will find black legs. There are many black legs in the police who are giving the rest of the police a bad name. There are decent people who do not want to be going around with POS and forcing Yahoo boys to part with their money, who will not drag people by their necks to ATM
that
and
is
collect
so traceable.
money. Yes, no, it just shows how silly and unthinking people can be, because you should know that they will catch you, and some of them have been caught in that way. Because once you lodge the report, they will investigate, and they will trace you electronically. They will catch you, and you are so dumb that you still went ahead.
And some of them will even collect bank transfer. They will ask the Yahoo.
Yeah, they'll tell you to do it. No, there is even a matter that I'm working on now. Those boys, they've been extorting money from the boys. We have silly people in the police. It's a fact. I recognize the fact that the police is one body that works hard to cleanse it, to purge itself of bad legs. But we continue to have bad people, because a lot of them ab initio had no business getting into the police. Somebody who is worse than a common armed robber, he manages to get into the police. Why? Because his chest is white. I mean, it shouldn't simply be because your chest is white, then you are qualified. People in your area, there must be extensive investigation.
Can they vouch for
your traditional ruler, the chiefs, they should first investigate. We can't put people in the police because they cannot find something else to do. They now see the police more like a kind of stopgap arrangement
for dumping grounds,
or for what you call the birds of passage. The birds of passage. Are they supposed to be in the police? The answer is no.
Doctor, what do you make of this case?
Well, first, let me say I wasn't shocked that it happened. Like Babajite said, it has happened before. Not once, not twice, and it's still going to happen. The case he was referring to was what happened in Port Harcourt in 2017, when a student of Uniport raped an 8-year-old girl, and he was caught, put in custody, and then he escaped. What makes it worse in the case of Oyo State was that the man who allowed this 19-year-old to flee wasn't even on duty. according to the Commissioner of Police, CPA Wongu. It's alarming. How will a man who wasn't on duty come to the station, collect the key, and then open the guard room, take the man out, and then we are saying he's nowhere to be found. And this is after 5 people have died. It's amazing. We've always said it, and like Babajide said, there are good people in the force, but a lot of them are bad. So many of them. We have reached a situation where some of us are no longer shocked that these things happen. We are just somehow indifferent. When the man was caught, the first thing I told people around me was, let's hope he doesn't, turn into wind and escape from the police. And it happened. It's a shame. It's a shame. Like Babajide said, we need to get to the point where these things won't take too long to deal with. I don't know how he did it, but we need to understand the system so that it doesn't happen again. And some of the best ways to ensure this doesn't happen is one, like Babajide said, ensure that we have people of impeccable character in the police. Number 2, there should always be a backup situation. In any place where we are holding criminals. For somebody to walk into a police station, despite the fact that he's also one of them, and take a man out, shows that there is more to it than we might get to know.
It's terrible.
And finally, we keep having these kind of cases. We keep these situations, and the 19-year-old maniac is out there, and we don't know who knows where he is. He could even be in Lagos. And we don't know who are those people that are even, because apparently he has people sponsoring him. Because I don't know, why will a policeman not on duty now come and open the key to the detention and release him? That means there's something fishy if they have to investigate further.
Yes, probably the guy had been compromised, most likely compromised, or it could even be some of the people that he had used in the past to evade justice. It's terrible that a police where innocent people get killed for committing no crime, a policeman asks for money and you use the butt of your gun to kill the person, because he appeared not to be willing to give you, or maybe he didn't even have the money. That same police, most times, where innocent people get killed summarily, without any form of trial, as if they are judged and
sometimes you're just altercation with the police and
they shoot you.
They shoot you.
Look at that apparently crazed SARS man who said, "Give me the honor of killing him." That video that went viral to the shame of everyone. Said, "Give me the honor of killing him." You would think you are watching a movie. But it's in Nigeria that it has happened. So with the same police where people get killed for fun by policemen is where somebody who is a terror to the community is allowed to walk away.
The big irony.
I mean, and you can kill innocent people. But you can allow somebody who is wasting people's lives to walk away. It's such an irony, a cruel one for that matter. Innocent people get killed by policemen in our country. Let us see the police devote that same energy to dealing with bandits, dealing with serial killers like this fellow. But what we are seeing is a situation in which a guy was allowed to go. But the police have a duty. And the IG knows.
Yes, I think
the IG knows that we will not keep quiet.
Yes, this is not impunity.
Until they catch that boy. No, we will not leave them alone. No. Let Nigerians know.
A serial killer.
It's not, until they catch that boy and bring him.
In many society, it's just.
We will do many programs. We will not let the police rest until they bring that boy to justice. We will not leave them alone. It's a promise.
And one very interesting thing there is that Dotun, when they want to do their job, they will do their job. I won't be surprised after this program. I just read the breaking news that he has been apprehended. When the police want to walk, they will walk. That's I trust them.
I agree with you on that. And I hope this is one of those situations where we can.
When they are embarrassed like this, they
very quickly. Very quickly. Because we need to know those who are behind a 19-year-old for him to have embarked on such mass killing. Because for me, I don't see a 19-year-old boy on his own going on such killing spree. Even if he's a Yahoo plot, like they would say.
And what is his sanity level?
What does he want by those? We need to know those who are behind it.
Yes.
And I'm sure that is what they are trying to avoid that has led to this. That is what they are trying to avoid.
Those big people
for
may
a
be
man who has
behind it.
been in the force for at least not less than 15 years as an inspector, to have walked into his cell to take out a criminal and reach all he has worked for, there must be something very heavy to have done that. So we need to know those who paid it and those who are behind that boy. We need to know. Because it goes beyond just the boy.
Those gentlemen that they are questioning, they are under interrogation now.
Yes.
I think they will talk.
No, they will talk. The police, as we said, they may have all kinds of issues, but this kind of matters, when they have their back to the wall and someone has embarrassed them in this manner, they know what to do. When policemen were killed in Ofa,
yeah, of course,
they got the job done. They got the job done.
Yeah.
And it was discovered that a former SAS member,
yes,
you know, a
Bank
former
robbery.
SAS member was even who was dismissed from the police was the one who led this. But they got hold of those guys. A lot of them have already they had their passport even in their pocket and they've traveled. Because I remember when they came to court, the suspects were saying that they had not seen some of their colleagues, that they should tell the police to produce some of their colleagues. Because those colleagues had apparently traveled. Can you imagine? Instead of defending yourself that you committed, you were involved in bank robbery in Ofa, you are asking for the whereabouts of your colleagues.
Yes, now.
Police, you must give them salute.
Okay, I have a call from Warri. Effort from Warri.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The issue I got, yeah.
Okay.
No, from Port Harcourt.
From Port Harcourt.
From Port Harcourt.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah. I call in respect of that, in respect of the issue on the hangout.
Yes. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Like what Ogajide said, is quite clear. And I think I'm a youth leader, and I think at this point we should start learning how to do things right, like try to do things right. We should not allow things to overrun us as if we were born in a society where we don't know that things need to go right. If the police, if an event of that is in our court, we expect the police. They don't even need people to agitate for them to do that. We expect the police to go after the couple and go after the host and investigate until they get to the down of it, because I don't see that thing as a transparent. Something is behind the thing. And I think that it is through investigation and transparency that we can get to the root of all these things we are saying. So I am of the opinion that what Ogajide said is quite correct. I support the investigation, because things of this kind, like yesterday, 2 people were killed in one village in Ogoni, Axis. Now, looking at the scenario now, a local government chairman was named somehow. The state governor is also named somehow. What is the problem? The problem is because the people who are doing these things are somehow close to them from the top hierarchies of the people who are sending these messages. They are the people who are work for them. So,
thank you, Effort. Thank you for your contribution. So we expect justice and
Yes, and quickly too.
yes, and finally, the Minister of Aviation, Hadi Sirika, says international flights suspended as a result of COVID-19 pandemic will resume August 29, as he believes that Nigeria's international airports have reached advanced stages of preparedness for the resumption of international flight operations. However, the coordinator of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, Sani Aliyu, says the August 29 resumption is not sacrosanct, but if aviation authorities meet the criteria for resumption on the 29th, they will be given the green light to resume. Ghana actually announced September 1. Before now, from Dubai, a friend even told me that the United Arab Emirates, the authority, they've been under pressure. They've been pressurizing Nigerian authority to
Yes.
to allow our
spend
people
so
to come
much
in
money,
because of what we spent. Because we are what we call customer data. So that they can't stand it in Dubai, that the quantum of money that Nigerians for medical checkup, for every tourism, everything,
people go
real
to buy
estate.
things. They go to buy, and because it's not easy to get their visa, so you can go. It's so easy to go there. It's so easy to go there within.
Yeah.
Yes, you go there and then you buy things and come and sell here. There is no country that I know that Nigerians go to by air like the United
Dubai.
Arab Emirates. I don't know of any other country. Flights here, the landings from Dubai to Nigeria
Yes, Jide.
are greater than
I'm telling
any
you.
other country.
People going to London,
And
people
that
going
is
to
so
America,
much money.
they will prefer to stop over Dubai for 1 or 2 days.
Yes.
Before continuing their journey, they want to pick something in
And
Dubai.
some people, a lot of even some middle cadre traders, that is where they go. It is when they graduate that they start going to China, and then other places, to buy things. But they start with Dubai, where the visa is not such a problem, and for that, it is kind of big business for them. Big business for that country. The quantum of people from Nigeria going there, either for tourism or for purely for business. So they are going to be worried. But the truth is, how many other countries of the world are ready to open at this time? Beyond maybe Dubai, are the Americans ready? The answer is no. And there are many Nigerians who go there.
What they are facing in America
No, they are not.
peculiar.
Even South Africa said that. I was reading where they said, look, we don't even know when we will open up. And there are many Nigerians who go to South Africa. A lot of their people work here. South African Airways, their flights, especially on Fridays, are usually fully booked. Because there's huge traffic from Nigeria to Joburg, So, but they are not ready to open. 60% of COVID-19 cases from Africa come from South Africa. So it's not enough for us to simply say, okay, we want to open. How many other countries are ready at this time?
We might not even have the wherewithal, like Germany,
And then,
that came up with, you have to test on the arrival.
All countries, you see, my problem is that in our own case, can we replicate the stringent measures that will take place in other countries when they are ready to open? The answer is no. Our people, where countries insist that you must bring a certificate to show that you are COVID-19 free. In our own case, our people will take money instead of the certificate. They will take money from them. They will take money. So this is the thing. And one of the greatest ways by which this thing is transmitted is through air travel. That's why many countries are very careful at this time. I'm just worried. I hope, and I can understand why Dr. Sani is speaking that, because Hadi Sirika and his people must fulfill some obligations before we can allow air travel to begin. It's not simply to get emotional over this thing. Oh, people have lost their job. People need to get back to work. This and no. You must balance the need to keep the economy growing with the need to keep people alive. So I can understand why that man is, as Dr. Sani is saying, it's not sacrosanct. Because if they don't meet those conditions, there's no need
We are not
for
supposed
to
Why the
allow
rush?
them to. We were told that aisle seats, that airlines will be told to remove their aisle seats so that we can even practice social distancing inside the aircraft. But
That one
go
is
and
not
try to
happening.
fly to Abuja now
one is not
and see whether aisle seats have
Full
been removed.
capacity.
They've not been removed. So what we
Airtight.
actually see in our airports, is especially Lagos, they've not even done much in other airports, just Lagos and Abuja. You see physical distancing at the airport, but when you get inside, there's no distancing of any sort anymore. So what are we talking about? We're just making ourselves look like jokers. There's no physical distancing. It looks very much like Molue.
Dotun, are we ready?
Well, we are not, obviously. But the big question from what Babajide has said, for how long can we hold on? You can't do so forever. So, what do we do? Are we going to be able to ensure that all the stringent conditions we have put in place, that they are enforced? For instance, the expectation is anybody who flies into the country will self-isolate. How do we track? How do we ensure that anybody who leaves the international airport is going home to self-isolate? For us, that we have even a suspect in the police cell escaping under the watchful eye, so-called watchful eyes of policemen. Are we going to be in any position to monitor those who are going to come into this country in their thousands?
Oh.
When you go to the international airport, especially in the evening, during the normal flying season, you will see thousands of people entering the country and leaving. How do you monitor? Are we going to be able to do it? I think for me, those are the issues we should start attending to, because we can't lock down forever. It is our own seriousness pre-COVID-19 that is going to cause us more problems post-COVID-19. Because we have not laid the foundation for even the small matters of life for us to be taken serious as a nation. I still say it. I don't know what I find it very difficult to call Nigeria a nation or a country. We are just there. We are just within the same landscape because we just do things the way we want, not the way they should be done. And we have always said it here. We have too many laws, too many acts, too many things to tackle issues that confront us daily. But we are unable to. We are unable to. And these are things that are very difficult.
One other area is that some will need to go for medical checkups. We've been having some casualties, people that are due for their medical checkups abroad that have not been able to see their doctors. And with this lifting up ban, we'll be able to see their doctors. And
it depends on whether the country,
yes.
whether those ones have opened up. I'm telling you that a lot of those places they used to go, they've not opened up. Some of them could have been allowed to travel the other time. But because those ones have not opened up, that's why they were forced to stay at home, and eventually some of them died. The truth is a two-way thing. You want to open up. Are the people you want to go and meet, are they ready? The risk that you are taking, are they ready to take that risk now? They will have evaluated the situation. Just look at even these Europa Cup matches that they are playing. They told them, to the anger of some of the teams, that look, you are only allowed to train. Oh. You are not going into the town to moonlight. Oh. Nothing like moonlighting. Oh. So as soon as you go, you train, you go back into your hotel. They're not allowing them to mix with the people. That's what's happening. And at least Manchester United players were complaining that they had never been in that situation. You know, when you travel, you get to a place, you want to do some sightseeing, see beautiful places, take pictures. But no, they take you, you go and train. Once you finish training, they take you back to your hotel.
It's not time
Don't
for
go
that.
into our town to infect our people. They are not ready to take that risk. A lot of the countries are not ready to open up, even now. That is the thing. And in any case, let the elites improve our health facilities.
Yes,
Many
so
people will
that's-
think that at this time, we will even use it to build iconic hospitals
I'm
and
telling
all that.
you, we're
Use the
listening from
COVID-19.
COVID-19.
What have we seen? We'll use it to build research centers, medical research centers, this and what have we seen? The Nigerian ruling class will not change. They have no plan to change. Just doing the things the same way. Many years down the line, when we remember this COVID that has killed so many of our friends,
Presidential committee.
we will not even be able to point at some of the
it is.
positive things that came out of COVID.
All right. I want to thank you, Dr. Oladipo, for being part of today's show, and BKO himself. And that's our offering today. Join us tomorrow for another episode of the program. You can also watch Journalist Hangout on our platforms showing on the screen. We're on YouTube, youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Our feedback channel is Journalist Hangout at tvcnews.tv. I'm Ayodele Ozubakun, urging you to stay safe. Bye for now.